Well, hello everyone, and welcome. It's another episode of Live Better, brought to you by the super incredible team over at Wave.video. I am Chad Peterson, the story catcher, and super glad to have you with us. Hope you've had an incredible week. I know that there's a lot going on, and the world as we know it is just a lot different. I was thinking back actually to a date almost 8 years ago on June 17th, 2014. About 300 people had gathered together, and for what some were calling the wedding of the century. Um, we gathered together in a small church, my now wife and I, and took our vows. Afterwards, there was a great reception. It was catered, all the food you could eat, live music, and a great celebration. Afterwards, we boarded a plane and headed to the mountains in Colorado for our honeymoon and time to relax. And last night, I watched a story of another young couple who just a few days ago got married just after their country was invaded. Following the ceremony, they changed clothes, dressed in camouflage, army green, took up arms, and stayed in their hometown in the Ukraine to defend their country. And that's where they are celebrating their honeymoon. They're fighting for their lives, they're fighting for their families, they're fighting for their country, they're fighting for their freedom. And freedom, something that sometimes here in my country we take for granted. I was talking to the founders of Wave.video the other day from their home in Boston, Massachusetts, where they've lived for the last 20 years. Boston, Massachusetts, a town where you can barely go out without seeing reminders of what our forefathers in this country went through and fought for so that we could have the freedoms we enjoy. And now there are people in the Ukraine who are doing the same. Our prayers are with them, and we want the world to know that Wave.video supports Ukraine. We're behind you, and we're going to do everything that we can to help you keep the freedoms that you deserve. So we're glad you're here. I know we started off on a little bit of a somber note, but one of the great things about the couple that I heard the story of, they said that they were getting together with their friends and their comrades, sometimes in bunkers, but they were playing games. They were laughing. They were making jokes and having a good time together because although life was different, it was still life. And so I hope that's what we remember today, that it's still life and we're alive and we should all be grateful. We should love each other and support each other. So that being said, we're super excited about our guest today, Ian Anderson Gray. He is just known throughout the live streaming world as kind of a, I don't want to use the word guru, but you know what? If somebody was going to be a guru, it would be Ian Anderson Gray. He is also the host of a podcast that I've had the pleasure of being a guest on a couple times. It's the Confident Live podcast and live show. And Ian coaches live streamers, brands, people on how to maximize the potential that live streaming has. It helps you get confident on camera and shows you all the tricks and how to really stand out in this crowded world of live streaming. So without further ado, we want to bring him in, but we also want to remind you to make sure that you like, subscribe, share, click the bell, get notifications, go to our website, sign up for email newsletters. If you can click it, we want you to find Wave.video and we want you to click it because we want to get the word out and we want to share this great new tool that we're using right now to live stream our show, which is the new Wave live streaming platform. And we want to make sure that you have access to it. Also, while you're here today, make sure that you use the hashtag LiveBetterTips for your chance to win all kinds of prizes. Of course, we have our sticker pack and the new Wave.video Yellow Chad mugs. Our guest, Ian Anderson Gray, is going to be giving away a Confident Live t-shirt. So make sure that you do that. There's Ian himself right there. And use the hashtag LiveBetterTip and share with us something that you take away from today's show. So without further ado, let's bring him in. The man, the myth. I don't know if he's quite a legend, but maybe after today he will be. Ian Anderson Gray. Well,
Thanks,
hello
Chad.
there.
You couldn't resist it, could you? I knew something like that would happen.
Okay, so let me, for those of you who are like, what was that? First of all, the music that is always picked, the team picks it. I don't listen to the intro before the show because they always try to make it special for the guest. But that particular video at the beginning of it, who was that in that video, Ian?
Oh, it was me as a kid. Yeah, it was for an advert for a commercial, and I was auditioning for the part in it, and yeah, they dressed me up in that. So it's not my fault. That's all I can say. It's not my fault.
It sounds like you're saying like I was young and I needed the money.
Blame my parents. It's not my fault.
So Ian had shared the picture, and it was on like this perfectly blue background. I'm like, I could take the background out of that really easily, and I turned it into a video and let him shake his hips. So I sent that to the team the other day and said, please work this into the intro. Please work this into the intro. It was funny watching because as I was saying, you know, the man, the myth, not quite a legend. I could see you in my peripheral kind of smiling and laughing, and then the intro video started, and this was Ian.
Oh, I hate that photo so much. Can you tell?
Yeah, you know, in your defense or my defense, you posted it. I didn't dig for it.
It's very true. It's very true.
Oh man. So we are going to be talking today about barriers to live streaming. What keeps people from getting into it or progressing, getting where they want to go. And you had thrown a couple topics out, and I thought this was a great one because I know that you have a different background, and then you ended up where you are. So before we get into these specific barriers, let's kind of, if you would, tell us how you got from where you were into this whole live streaming thing.
Oh, wow. Well, I'll try and keep it short because we could have a whole show on this, but I actually trained as a professional classical singer. That was my background. At school, I loved science and tech, but music won. I went to music college, sang around the UK as a professional singer, and then I started a blog, and I started being really interested in social media. And it was I think it was 2016 when Facebook Live came out. The only way to really broadcast to Facebook Live at the time was using pretty complicated software. It was OBS Studio, and I wanted to try and find a way to make it easy for people. And so I wrote an article. It went completely mad. It's had over 6.5 million page views.
Wow.
And then people started asking me to talk about live video at conferences. There was only one problem. I was really scared about getting in front of the camera and doing it myself. I was great at talking about it, but not getting in front of the camera. And so it was at Social Media Marketing World in San Diego around the same time. Me and you were on stage, weren't we? And I was thinking, wow, this is, you know, performing. We're doing a musical. And I thought, like, this is amazing. Like, performing, my background as a performance and teacher, and social media and tech are all kind of combining into one. And that's when I started to think, well, I've got my background as a professional singer. I remember being nervous, getting on stage, and then turning that adrenaline into my performance in front of the audience. So maybe I can find a way to do the same thing with getting in front of the camera. There are different issues with getting in front of the camera. But so I went on this big mindset journey, and I'm going live 2 or 3 times a week now. And
wow.
Do I still get nervous? Yeah, there's a little bit of nervousness, but it's controlled, and I'm now using that in a really positive way. Whereas the first time I went live, I want to be totally transparent and honest here, I was a wreck. I was so nervous. And so if you're feeling like, so that picture's just upsetting me. But if you're feeling like that now, there's definitely hope.
It seemed appropriate. That's the picture that's on the profile for your business page.
It
So,
is, yeah,
and
it
that's
is.
probably the feeling that a lot of people get, when they go live stream, like, oh, the camera, like as soon as it says
Well,
you're live.
yeah, and they see a picture of themselves on the screen, and like, unless you're a total narcissist, it's can be a little bit off-putting.
Yeah, for sure. And then if you're the narcissist, then you typically are probably going to come across on screen off-putting to everybody else. So,
Yeah, very true,
there's that
very true.
that side of it. All right, so we're going to dig into some stuff here, folks. Just another reminder: make sure if you want a chance to win some great prizes, the mugs, our stickers. We also have the, of course, the Confident Live Streamer T-shirt. That is like what a great my son. I need to get one of those for my son for Christmas. Make sure that you use the hashtag #LiveBetterTip and let us know what you've learned, or as we go along, what you're learning from Ian. So let's dig into the whole barrier thing. What would you say are the top 3 barriers people tend to face when they're trying to live stream?
Yeah, so when I wrote that article and I launched a course, I asked a lot of people all around the world what were their big barriers, and I put it into a big word cloud, and 3 things popped out at me. The first one was something to do with mindset or fear, getting in front of the camera. So there's loads of things here we could talk about. There's imposter syndrome, comparisonitis, all that kind of stuff. But let me just I'll just say the 3 barriers, and maybe then, Chad, we can go into more detail into each of them. So the first one is live video camera fear. The second one is the tech and gear. And the third one is the content marketing sphere. And I hope you're impressed they all rhyme. But it's the third one is more about, like, well, what if people don't turn up? What am I going to talk about on my show? The second one is, what camera do I use? Do I need to use like special live video software? Do I need a special fancy microphone like Chad, or that kind of thing? And then the first one is actually what most people struggle with, and that is getting in front of the camera, and it's that mindset side of thing. And the reason I say that is because I had that experience. I didn't go live for a whole month because I was worried about my background not being good enough, my camera not being good enough. And then I realized the main reason was that I was actually afraid of being judged on camera and looking like a complete fool. And so I manufactured this excuse in my head, which was to do with the gear. So yeah, don't do that.
Well, while you're at it, I know you mentioned it was interesting that the 3 things rhymed, and then you also talked about, that you went through this fear and people, what they would think or whatever. I did want to share, because folks, let me tell you, like, if Ian was nervous and fearful, he overcame that. He took his rhyming ability and his performing ability, and watch this.
5 a.m. no holiday. I work every day to increase my pay. This can't be the only way. I really don't want this every day.
So just letting you know, by the end of the show today, that could be you.
Oh, that was fun. That you won't hear me rapping very often, but that was one exception.
I was impressed. I was impressed. Okay, so the first one was fear. Is that?
Yeah. So it's mindset and fear. The second one is fear of the gear, and the last one is content marketing sphere.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's talk about that first one. So and by the way, folks, we want to know what are some barriers and challenges that you've faced as a live streamer? What are things that you've had to overcome, or what are things that maybe you're still struggling with that maybe we can talk about, and Ian can give you some tips. So make sure you share those and ask your questions there. And don't forget hashtag #LiveBetterTip. Let us know what you're taking away. Okay, so the emotional pressure of going live, everything that's involved with it, the mindset. How do you?
Don't. No, I'm joking. So the first thing, you need to do some So you need to do some deep work, first of all. You need to know, like, why are you actually doing this? Why are you doing live? What are your reasons? And so, like, with my clients, I take them through this planning document. We work out, like, what is the show going to be about? Who is your audience? It's that kind of stuff. And then coming up with the reasons why you are doing this. So the reasons why I do my show is it's great for content repurposing. I can create a blog consistently, a podcast consistently, a live show consistently, and it's a great way to engage with my community because I know why I'm going to go live. It means that when I do go live, I have those reasons. I haven't got those excuses. The second way is to plan so you know what you're going to be talking about on your live show. The third thing is to schedule your live shows. So if I know I'm going live next Tuesday at 2 p.m., well, and I've actually gone into a tool like Wave.video's live streaming tool and scheduled it. I haven't got an excuse. It's kind of like personal training, going to the gym. Like I'm really bad at getting exercise. So I have to have a personal trainer who turns up at 7 a.m. in the morning. And because I know he's there, I'm going to turn up. I'm going to do it. I've got no excuses. It's kind of the same way with scheduling your live videos. So those are the kind of those are really, really helpful ways. But the other thing that you've got to think about is the whole mindset side of things. So this is a separate thing. And this is to do with, you may struggle with things like, for example, imposter syndrome, comparing yourself with others. You might not like the way you sound and the way you look. And those are things that you have to just work on over time. They're not going to go away straight away. The first time I went live, I had all of those issues. Oh my goodness, a psychologist would have a field day. So, but over time, you'll start off like your fear factor will be really high. You'll also probably, I hate to say this, but you probably won't be that good either. You'll probably be stumbling over your words, but over time, you'll get better and better and more confident. You won't worry about you stumbling across your words. I mean, I've stumbled over my words probably quite a few times today. Does it matter? It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you're creating really valuable content and you're also being you. And people like the real you. They don't always like the kind of overly polished thing. So people will really like that. So yeah. Does that kind of all make sense? Yeah, you're
absolutely.
Yeah.
Would you agree? Because I feel this way. You know, I do this all the time. You do this all the time. Do you still have moments where imposter syndrome sneaks in?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And anyone who doesn't struggle with that, I think almost they've got bigger problems. I have met some people who don't, but there was one guy, I was actually at a conference, and a friend of mine, and he says, look, I don't really struggle with imposter syndrome. And he was almost worried that he didn't. And then he got asked to speak at the front about his experiences with something in business. And he just spoke after somebody else before him who was saying like they were making like $1 million per year on their courses. And then suddenly he had a massive imposter syndrome, thinking, why am I on stage? So it can hit you at these kind of weird moments. And yeah, of course, you just need to be aware of it. And it's being just listening to yourself and being aware of these issues as well. And there's I've got loads of tips that I can help you with when it comes to the likes of imposter syndrome, and comparisonitis is the other dangerous thing.
And since you mentioned that, you know, that's what you do, and you can help people with that. What's the best place for them to go to find you for that?
Well, there's my website has got loads of places. There's also a confidence guide as well. So you can find that if you just go to my website, iag.me, there's a big bit about that. So you can download the confidence guide, and it's on the screen there. So, and I talk about it a lot on the podcast, because, and it comes out of like, I have this flaw in my personality. I'm just very open about these things, open about my struggles over the years. And but I think it's because a lot of people struggle with these same things. It's just they're not always willing to admit it. I think most of the people in in my sector, in the marketing world, in the social media world, I think 99% of the people I've spoken to suffer from some form of imposter syndrome from time to time,
Of course.
or comparing themselves to others. And we don't like to admit it, but we do. And I think with live video, it's almost more of a problem, because it's visual. And then we see what other people are doing. We think, and that's what, in a sense, that's what happened with me when I thought, well, my background and my camera isn't very good. I was comparing myself to some other people out there who had much better equipment than me. And I thought, well, then I need to stop, because no one's going to want to watch me. And then I thought, how ridiculous is that? I wanted to give myself a slap in the face, because, like, have you ever stopped watching somebody because their camera isn't perfect? Okay, if you can't see them, and if the audio is really, really bad, then fine.
Sure.
But like, it wasn't that bad. And actually the problem was, in a way, getting in front of the camera it's quite a vulnerable thing to do. You're making yourself vulnerable, because you're willing, or you're trying to communicate with your audience, but the likelihood is you're going to make a mistake. And there is a very, very minor possibility that somebody is going to come in and say something nasty about you. I mean, to be honest, that's never happened to me. Maybe one time.
And I apologized.
Yeah. So like, we need to kind of stop doing that. And it's easier said than done, but there are ways to do it. But I think just admitting that it's a potential problem is a good start.
Like the Dimitri here, he quoted what you said. Everybody who doesn't have imposter syndrome has bigger problems.
Yeah.
And folks, we want to hear from you as well. So if there's things that you've are taking away, as Ian's sharing, use the hashtag #LiveBetterTip. We're going to be using that to draw and figure out who our winners are today. So if you want a chance at the stickers, or our new mug, or Ian's super awesome Confident Live Streamer t-shirt, make sure that you're using that hashtag #LiveBetterTip, and give us your takeaway, something that you're learning from Ian, things that he's sharing with us. So Stuart says being open and honest is the best way to be. People can identify with your struggles and gain guidance from how you handle the challenges. I love that. I'm not sure if
I am here.
Okay.
Just my camera decided to go on a holiday or go on vacation for a few minutes, so it is back.
Thank you for translating and saying vacation for our American viewers who are like, holiday, what is that? What is that? Katie, vulnerability is nerve-wracking but good. I totally agree with that.
I mean, I think with vulnerability, there is I think it's important to make a distinction. There are different types of vulnerability. Like if you are, somebody said to me, if you need some brain surgery, I don't think you want your brain surgeon to be vulnerable. Maybe they're having a bad day,
Yeah.
And that's not the kind of vulnerability I'm talking about here. If you are going through a time of depression or whatever, then to share that on the live probably isn't the best thing to do. But what I'm talking about
depending on your
here,
audience.
Well, it depends on the audience. Yeah, I suppose it depends. But what I'm talking about in terms of vulnerability here is just, if you make mistakes, or if you have flaws, if you scratch your head, or you've got some kind of funny mannerism, then just make light of it. Just joke about it. If you have these little kind of things that you do, then just laugh about it and joke about it, because you might hate them. I was speaking to Luria Petrucci about this from Livestream.
Hey, our guest next week, by the way.
Oh, fabulous. Well, she was on my show, and I was like really taken aback, because she then started listing all her flaws. Like, I thought, really? But she did that because, like, to her, she was really aware of those things, but nobody else was. And I think that's a really important point, that we can be. I used to hate my voice, but that's ridiculous, because I haven't really met anyone who doesn't like my voice. Maybe there's probably one person out there who doesn't, but that's their problem.
No, I'm not a big fan of the word vulnerable anyway. To me, be open, be who you are.
Yeah.
Vulnerable, I always think, it's like, well, if you're vulnerable, it means that you're open to attack. You're
Yeah.
easily brought down. So don't be vulnerable. Be open. Don't be afraid to be who you are, and just be you. I like that. Okay, so I know we've got the gear part, but I wanted to talk about one of the still kind of a fear and mindset thing.
Mm-hmm.
The social media world, like you had mentioned, it can be cruel, and people can get a little. How do you overcome that fear of sharing your opinion, of worrying, am I wrong? What if people disagree with me? How do you get past that?
I think you need to, first of all, be willing to be wrong, and actually not, this is what I think about this. And I'm a great believer in order to think, in order to learn, we need to express our views. And so I often do this on my show. This is what I think, but I'd love to know what you think. What do you think? I'd love to learn from you. So you can you kind of jokingly called me a guru at the start, but you can come across as a guru and think, well, I know everything about everything, and I'm an expert on this field, and that's okay, fine. But I think it's also important to admit sometimes that you don't know, you want to learn from your audience as well. So I think putting forwards your views and doing it in a way that you've done the research, but you're also willing to hear from other people, I think is the way. And like, if other people out there disagree with you, now this is easier said than done, but try and take that as a positive thing, because they're engaging with you. And sometimes being slightly controversial is a good thing, and having a conversation about it. But always be willing to be wrong, because that's how you learn. I think people will really respect that if you have that attitude.
What about delivering information? Have you ever gone through this where you're putting together, okay, I'm going to talk about this or this, and you start second guessing yourself? Is this really useful? Am I just sharing something that's really not useful to my guests? Am I just saying something that somebody else has already said? How do you deal with that?
Well, this is being aware of your self-talk. We all have this little voice in our heads, and quite often we're not even aware of it. So the first thing is to be aware of it. And I noticed that I remembered this when I was singing. So I actually auditioned for Glyndebourne Opera, and I was singing this very complicated piece in Italian. And I was worried. Memory is never my thing. I'm not very good with remembering things. And this was a complicated song in Italian, which I don't speak really. And I got towards the end, and I thought, oh, wow, I've remembered the words. And then as soon as I did that, I forgot the words. So, but the opposite can sometimes happen. You can have this, and I don't know whether you've ever had this, Chad. We can have a bit of like super honest stuff going on here. I don't know. But you go live and you're already thinking, oh, I don't know. I'm not really feeling it today. I think what I'm saying, is this valuable? And then you look at the top left-hand corner, 5 people watching. Oh no, it's gone down to 3. Oh, and then you start to kind of doubt yourself. And that's happened to me in the past. And then like a week later, I don't know why it's like a week later, you speak to somebody and say, oh, thank you so much for that show you did last week. It was so valuable. It's really changed everything. And I found this particularly with my podcast listeners are the worst, because they never talk to you. They never say anything. And I was about to give up my podcast, and then I met 5 people at a conference who all said they loved my podcast. And I thought, well, why didn't you tell me? So often we have this negative self-talk in our brains, and it's not in the realms of reality. Often it isn't. And so we need to, I recommend joining a mastermind group, or having some close friends in your industry who can tell it how it is, and also encourage you as well. So they will give you some feedback, but they will also tell you, they will also encourage you as well. And look for your super fans. So in my community, I've got 3 or 4 people who are just amazing, and they're always there. They always turn up every week. It's important on live video to know who your audience is and to give back the love to your audience, because they're the people that are going to tell you, give you encouragement, but also tell you what you should be talking about, and maybe if you've missed everything, and give some good questions as well as you broadcast.
Do you remember a moment while live streaming during your career as a live streamer in this wonderful world? Do you remember a moment that just stands out the most where something went so wrong that you thought, why am I doing this?
I think in my experience, I've always kind of wanted, well, no, I haven't wanted this at all. That would be a lie. But in a way, I've wanted to at least tell a story about a really disastrous time, because it's great for moments like this when Chad asks me for a disaster time. There's not been any kind of like particular disaster time, except there have been moments when I've wanted to or thought, well, what's the point? I may as well give up. And it might be for a number of reasons. Sometimes I will get lots and lots of people watching me live, and then sometimes, despite me doing everything, I won't get very many people watching me live. And it's sometimes at those moments when you think, well, why am I bothering? And then you realize that actually people are watching the replay, or maybe there was something happening in the world, or something else. And but yeah, there are some mistakes that I've made. So for example, I forgot to press the end broadcast button. I thought I'd press the end broadcast button, and then I was chatting away with my guest, and we were getting comments carrying on, thinking, oh no, I forgot to press the end broadcast button. Or in the olden days, I mean, it's so much easier with tools like Wave.video, but in the olden days when I was using OBS Studio, you had to remember to add your microphone as well as your video. And so I would go live, I would be going and I'd be sharing the most amazing piece of information. I was on fire, but I'd forgotten to add the microphone.
And you had to make sure that the right tracks were clicked. This was the one that's going live, and yeah, been there.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And that's when I'm definitely grateful for tools like this that Wave is created. Which, by the way, folks, if you don't have access, make sure you go to Wave.video, sign up for a free account, apply for our beta. Hopefully we're coming out of beta here pretty soon, by the way. But this tool makes it so easy to do so many things, like the scene where we switched and showed Ian rapping. That was already preset, ready to go. It was just a click of a button, and the whole layout and everything changed. And it's just a fabulous tool. In fact, if you want to look at it, give me a holler. I'll give you a behind the scenes tour and let you check it out. What about this one? Okay. When you talked about the audience, in fact, I believe Katie here even mentioned something, repeat listeners, acknowledge them, but also engaging with people as they're listening. How do you manage streaming and talking and doing your show, and then also monitoring and engaging with the people at the same time?
It's really hard. And by the way, hi, Katie. You're awesome. Thank you for your comment. And yeah, it's a difficult thing because like in the olden days, you would have separate producers and moderators and hosts, and they'd all be doing this. In fact, you'd probably have multiple people doing this. But with these days, you are doing everything. Now, it's a lot easier with tools like Wave.video because you can do everything yourself, which is great. But it's like most things, it just takes practice. The thing to do is just to, as well as practicing, you need to make sure that you plan in advance. And I have a structure to my show. So I break my episodes into 3. We'll have that kind of a live segment at the beginning where I'm hanging out with my audience. And then if I have a guest on, I'll introduce my guest, and then we'll get into section number 1. At the end of section number 1, I will then bring in questions, and we'll talk with the live audience, and then we'll go on to section 2, then do the same section 3. I've seen live shows where the host does not acknowledge the people watching live at all. And I've been there, I've been like, asking all these questions and sharing the love, and they just don't acknowledge me at all. And at the end of it, I feel like, well, what was the point of that? I'm not going to bother coming back next time. They just don't care. And I love what you're doing, Chad. You're highlighting the comments on the screen. That people love that.
Okay, now wait. Let me before I get like huge props from everybody. We're blessed with. I've got the wonderful Karina in the background who is helping with all of that. So but not everybody has that. But I do have to admit that I do have that, and they highlight.
Well, no,
and help.
But you can learn to do that yourself. I mean, I will admit, to begin with, I found that when I was doing all of that, sometimes I would have this vacant look as I would look over there, and I would be trying to listen to the my guest, but I'd also be looking at the comments as well. But over time, you can get better at that. So this is a good time to talk about the fact that there are at least 2 different types of audiences, possibly 3, that you need to think about.
Wow.
The first audience that you need to acknowledge are you're going to think I'm mad. Well, you already think I'm mad, probably, Chad, but are the people from the future. They're your replay audience. So the first people to join are from the future, because it takes time for your live audience to click the button and to even see that you're live. So you need to acknowledge them watching in the future. You could ask them, say, like, put #replay in the comments, and it's great to have you here. But your replay audience have got a different experience from your live audience. They will probably see the replay of comments, but they're watching on their own, and so you want to make them feel special, and also try and let them feel that they're not missing out too much. You want to encourage them to watch live next time, but that's important. And don't spend so much time on the live audience that it becomes boring for your replay audience. So if you start to say, hey, Katie, hey, Chad, oh, it's great to see you, that becomes really boring for your replay audience. However, you've got to think about your live audience as well. You want to make them feel special too, because this is much more of a community atmosphere, a party atmosphere, because they're commenting live. They can actually ask you questions and you can answer back, and they see each other. It's a party atmosphere. The third audience is what is happening in this show, is that if it gets repurposed into a podcast, you have to think about your podcast audience as well. And they, again, are from the future. They're having a very much an intimate experience because they're plugging you into their ears. And the other difference, which is kind of obvious if you think about it, is that they can't see anything. So you just need to be aware of that. If you're showing anything visual on the screen, you just need to be aware of your podcast audience as well.
Gotcha. And Eric brings up a good point. It depends on how many comments are coming in. I know Eric Hunley, he's a freaking fantastic, and he's got shows he even mentioned here with 1,000 concurrent viewers, and the comments obviously can get incredibly hectic. So if you have 1,000 viewers consistently, hopefully you're at a level and a point in your business also where you can have a producer and people are helping you out with that for sure.
Yeah, and that's a great place to be in. I mean, it sounds like you're doing amazingly. You've got an amazing community, and I think your community will understand that you can't answer everyone's question necessarily, or acknowledge everyone by name, but you can put comments up on the screen, and you can say that. So I'd love to be able to reply to all of you, but I just can't. And you get somebody in the background who can pop those questions up or comments up and do it that way. But that's a great position to be in.
Yeah, he says he cherry picks, and honestly, he has to focus on super chats. Hey, I don't blame you, right? Super chats.
Yeah,
there's a little cash behind them, so I'd make sure I'd show those as well.
Yeah.
All right, now Eric has a unique problem. 1,000 viewers. But another Eric, ironically, brings up, which actually was one of my next questions. He says, if I only have a few followers, why should I do a live show? Who wants to listen? How do you deal with that? How do you deal with that disappointment of it not being exactly where you want it to be or growing the way you wanted it to grow? You just feel like it's like, hi, Mom, glad you're here.
Well, there's a number of ways I could answer this. First of all, it's not, you're not alone. It is a common problem, and it could be it. Okay, I'll answer it this way first, and that is, first of all, you need to think, well, why am I doing this? Why am I going live? Is it because everyone else is going live, or do I have specific reasons why I'm going live? You also need to have a plan of growth. When you first go live, you probably won't have that many people watching you, but over time you can grow it. Get people who are in your audience. I mean, maybe get friends and family to begin with. You know, there's a time where theaters, they would actually pay people to come along and cheer at the back. So I wouldn't say do that, but there's, you know, you can have a launch. You could have a launch party and things like that. But you need to have a plan, and I call this my 5 P's process. So the first thing is have a plan, know why you're doing it, what you're going to do, where, and all that kind of stuff. Second is to do some pre-promotion, schedule your show, make sure that everyone knows about it, send it out to your newsletter, put it on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, everywhere. The next thing is to produce the show, obviously, which we've been talking about. And then this is the exciting bit, because the reason for you going live isn't always about your live viewers. That's one reason for me. I want to grow my community, but the big reason for me is that I want to be consistent with my content. And I wasn't being until I embraced live video, because you can turn your live video into a content repurposing machine. And it's the perfect antidote to recovering perfectionists like me, like you potentially, because once you go live, you know it's not going to be perfect, but you're creating content that you can then turn into a piece of evergreen content, so the 4th P is post promotion. You can create lots of video snippets from it and let people know about your video. They can watch the replay. And then the final P, I'm kind of cheating here. It's repurposing. There is a P in there, repurposing.
Kind of cheating.
And so you're turning a live show into a blog, a podcast, video snippets, video babies, as my friend Amy Woods from Content 10X talks about. You know, your live video can have lots of babies, and it's great. And so that's another reason. And if that is your reason, technically you don't need to have any live viewers. It might make it a bit more difficult, but you know, it depends on why you're doing it. And so you need to have good reasons. And I think the repurposing thing is a massive thing.
Yeah, and I know for us, it's a huge piece of it as well. And speaking of, you know, Wave does make that really easy. You know, that's one of the cool things about the new tool as well. As soon as this live is over, it's immediately put into my Wave video editor, and I can cut it up, chop it up, and do whatever I want to. And
that's a biggie, because like before I'd have to download it. I mean, actually in the olden days, you couldn't even download it, you know, and then you had to kind of like find the bits and upload it into a tool and do it. But it's really super simple now, which is great.
Yeah. And you could download audio only. So right from Wave as well. So
yeah, that's cool. So you could turn it into a podcast very easily as well.
Yeah, it's like the one ring to rule them all kind of. You can create everything for the show, do the show, repurpose the show, all in one spot.
It's the one ring.
It is my precious. All right,
you should have Gollum as your
mascot. Well, we instead we have Yellow Chad. So he's Gollum-y, I guess. So I know we spent a lot of time today on the first barrier, but it seems like, you know, people have questions and concerns
that's the biggest. That is the biggest. If you don't get that stuff sorted, you'll probably make the second and the third one your main barrier, but actually it probably isn't. It's probably that first one.
Mm-hmm. And fear of the gear. You know, I totally get that, right? There's so many. If this person has this camera, and people like to do their unboxing and look at this, and then there's, you know, certain people, it seems like it's like they've always got the latest and the greatest, and you know, and I'm not, but you know, somebody's like, I'm still using my, you know, built-in webcam, or my C920, you know, still a great webcam. What are some of the things that you find when you say fear of the gear? What does that mean?
It's being overwhelmed, and it's probably partly comparisonitis. So you're looking at what other people are doing. They're looking at, you know, your fancy microphone, Chad, or your hat, or your background, and think, well, I want to have it like that. I can't. How do I even do it? I don't know how to start. I don't know how to plug my microphone in, and all this kind of stuff. And it's overcomplicating it. You know, for somebody who's got a fear of the gear, I would just start with your phone and go live on your phone. Just get used to creating content, because it's a case of like upgrading the tech one step at a time. I'm a massive believer in bootstrapping your live video studio. So start with your phone first. That's fine. That's fine. Then go over to your computer. You can use your inbuilt webcam. Use a very, very simple tool to go live. You don't need to add any graphics necessarily. You can add that later on. Just get used to it. Do it over time. In terms of the gear, the place that the thing that everyone goes on about first is the camera. Oh, I need to upgrade my camera. You know, you mentioned that, Chad, like the inbuilt camera of your laptop. I would just use it might not be great, but the thing that I would recommend upgrading first is your microphone. Because if people can't hear you well, or if they're struggling, or if there's a lot of echo and they're going to switch off. People can't deal very well with bad audio, but they can deal with bad video. So upgrade your microphone first, and it doesn't need to be expensive. I mean, I've got one of these. This is a Samson SAMSON Q2U microphone. I'm probably not going to be able to get that in focus, but it's got USB, so you can plug it directly into your computer. And if you're feeling fancy later, you can use you can plug it into a mixer. So that's not expensive. Get something like that, and that will significantly improve your audio. And then, yeah, microphone, video later, lights, all that kind of stuff. And you can get all fancy and get stream decks and all that kind of stuff. But start simply.
Dustin Stout just jumped in here. I'm assuming he's been here the whole time, but
Hi, Dustin.
he made a comment, and this is a valid one. I know for especially people here in the States that we struggle with. He says he's been putting off live streaming, not that he's afraid of the gear, but because he doesn't have a British accent like you.
Yeah, but I do know from first-hand experience that Dustin can put on a very, very convincing British accent. And most Americans that I know don't do American accents very well, but he does. So there's nothing stopping you, Dustin. And I expect to see you with your daily live shows starting from next week.
Right, with your accent and preferably wearing a derby. Possible. All right, so just a couple minutes here, because we've also got a few things we want to do here. But the last one has to do with the content sphere. Is that right?
Yeah, content marketing sphere. And I've kind of gone over it a little bit with the 5 Ps process. But it's all about thinking about what you're going to be talking about on the show. And it's really to do with the marketing and the promotion side of things. So first of all, like, if you're going to do a regular show, and I would recommend that you go live on a regular basis, maybe once every week, and you find your time to go live, and you're doing all the pre-promotion and the post-promotion, as I said, in the 5 Ps. But the planning part is really important. What is the show going to be about? And who are the type of people that you're going to have on the show? Or is it just you? So for my show, it's probably easy to talk about my show because I've thought about this a lot. My Confident Live marketing show is about how you can go live. But I talk about those 3 main barriers that we've been talking about today. So it is the mindset and camera fear. It is about the tech and gear, and it's about the content marketing sphere. So because I've come up with 3 themes, coming up with ideas for every single episode is so much easier, because I can look down my spreadsheets and I think, oh, I haven't done anything about gear recently. So who could I bring on to talk about gear? I could get Chad on, because he knows a thing or two about gear. And then I approach Chad and he says, no, get lost. But I've tried. But so you can it makes it a lot easier if you have if you come up with, I recommend coming up with 3 themes for your overarching theme of your show. And then you can plan out ahead I would recommend, and I feel a complete hypocrite doing this because I've not done this in the last 2 weeks, but plan out at least 2 or 3 weeks in advance, particularly if you're wanting to bring in guests onto your show. And that makes it easier. And then it just means that promoting it in advance, because with Facebook, you can you can schedule up to a week in advance. And so let people know about it. And if you don't plan in advance, you're not going to do that. So even if you're disorganized, you can do this if you put a plan together. It's definitely possible.
For us, the theme, at least for me, the team at Wave have different themes for the show. For me, it's don't tick anybody off, survive one more week, and have fun. Those are my three.
But you see, that's your promise. So like with my planning document, you've got the themes, but I've got a separate section which is your promise. What is my promise to my audience? And so that's your promise. And also, like, what are your reasons for doing the show? And that section, your reasons for doing the show, is where you can actually become quite selfish, because ultimately you're not doing the show purely to give to your audience. I mean, okay, yes, you are, but there are reasons. I mean, I do my show because I want to let people know about my services, and as a coach and a consultant. I also do it because it's fun, and I do it because I want to bring in guests onto my show who I really like, and we can have a chat, and I can learn things, and I can network. So, like, have your reasons as well. It's not just because there will be times. So I was talking about that chart where you start off from the fear factor, like really high fear factor, and also you're not very good, but over time you'll get better and better, and you become less fearful. But over time, life gets in the way. You'll have blips along the way. Sometimes you will be feeling like you will not be feeling it. You'll be thinking, oh, why am I doing this? You get your planning document out. You think, oh, that's why I'm doing it. Oh, wow. Yeah, I can bring Chad on my show, and he's going to like solve all my problems. So yeah, have your planning document. And it does take some work. But if you put that together, it will change everything. And it did for me, because I'm a recovering perfectionist, and I wasn't very good at kind of starting these things, but I did with this, and I've been consistent since May 2019 with a live show, mostly twice per week, and a podcast every Friday. And it's possible, and I love what I do. So yeah, that's what you need to do.
Outstanding stuff. Wow. Guys, if you have any other questions, we'll have some time for a few more questions here at the end. So someone just said that their live better tip is that Chad solves all problems. So thanks for throwing that out there for everyone. Appreciate that, Katie. That's hilarious. All right, so we're going to take a little break here. We're going to have a little fun. If you have some questions for Ian, now's your time to get them in, because we'll try to answer a few right at the end of the show, but then of course we'll come back and we can answer them afterwards and reply to the comments. So if you have some questions and things, knock them out. But right now we're gonna take a little break. We're gonna have a little fun. This is a little thing we call this or that. And so we're going to just ask a couple of questions from you. Play along with us in the comments. We want to know how you feel. And they're just different scenarios and whatever. And we just want you to pick your choice. So no big deal. No pressure. There's no right or wrong answers, unless there's a big argument discussion, in the chat with people. But that shouldn't happen. So, all right, here we go. So here's our first one, Ian. Would you rather spend forever on a sailboat or in an RV?
I'm not really into vehicles, so that's a difficult one. Probably like for purely practical reasons, an RV. But if somebody was sailing my sailboat, then I would happily pay them to do that.
As long as I don't have to sail it.
Yeah, I don't have any skills when it comes to that. So I'd have
to go with the RV as well. I motion sickness. I don't think I can handle it. And I believe I'd once in a while, at least in an RV, you can make stops. If I'm have to spend forever on a sailboat, that means even if I port somewhere, I can only see it from the shore. In an RV, I can go through a drive-through.
Well, there you go.
There you go. Right, it's all about the food. Speaking of health, cardio or weights?
Oh, that's hard. Well, I'm kind of doing both at the moment. So like my Tuesdays is usually weights and Thursdays is cardio. But one thing I'm really wanting to work on at the moment is cardio because I've never been able to run more than about 400 meters in the past. So my goal is to run 5K, and maybe, I don't know, 10K seems ridiculously long for me, but so that's my goal. Yeah, cardio.
Gotcha. Fair enough. I think I prefer cardio as well. Never been much of a weights guy, which, shocker, right? So
I
RV, by
do.
the way, was huge, the number one answer.
Oh, right, cool.
On this one, everybody's saying cardio, except for Dustin, who says you need both cardio
Well,
and
you do need
weights.
both. You do need
Yeah.
both, and I don't not enjoy weights. Although lunges, I hate weighted lunges.
Oh,
Why would
I,
anyone
I
do
hate
that?
unweighted lunges. Just my body weight
Well,
alone
that's
is
true.
brutal. Okay. How about this? Would you rather be able to talk to land animals, underwater animals, or flying animals?
Oh my goodness, what kind of questions that? How do you dream up these things, Chad? Well, I don't really spend much time underwater with animals, so and I think land it has to be land animals because I'm more likely to like. See, we don't have any dogs or cats or any animals. We've got guinea pigs actually, because
Hmm.
my wife is allergic to dogs and cats, so it'd be great. We could talk to the guinea pigs and see how they're doing. That'd be good.
Stewart says underwater. I'm kind of feeling the underwater. I feel like if I can talk to animals underwater, it means that I can handle being underwater, and that'd be kind of a big Aquaman fan as a kid. Love that old, the cartoon Super Friends.
Well, so does this mean like if does this assume that we can also do what they do? So if that's the case, I would say flying, because then that would mean I can fly, and who doesn't want to fly?
Yeah, and that's what I was like when I thought about that. Was underwater, I have to go underwater, but flying animals also land, so it doesn't necessarily mean I have to fly. I
Well,
really didn't know this was going to be this big of a discussion on
you
this
need to be
question,
more
but
specific in your questions, Chad. I think you need more work. Not more work needs to be done here.
okay. How about this? A golden voice or a silver tongue?
Oh, I know. Well, probably golden voice then.
I wasn't sure because this one I know that you sing, but you also live stream. So they a smooth speaking versus a golden voice, both would be important to you. So I was curious what you would
Well,
pick.
I don't know. Yeah, I'll go with that because how can you choose? It's like having to choose between your two children or something. I don't know. So
Wow, they got intense here. Stuart says golden voice. Also, Dustin says land animals because he would like to have a leopard as a pet. So watch out for Tiger King Part 2, the Dustin Stout story. That's coming soon. All right, last one. Blinds or curtains?
oh, like how can you choose between the two? Like we've just put blinds down in our living room, and that's great, but I'm really looking forward to the curtains because then we can close them and feel like we can have movie nights. So it's going to feel nice and I don't know, just on those horrible kind of wet, cold English, or where I live in Manchester in the northwest of England, it's always raining. So I think I'm gonna have to say curtains.
Okay, it's fair enough. Um, I think I'm more of a curtains kind of guy myself as well. Partly, I think it's because we have some blinds that I've replaced more times than I'd like to, because the window sits all the way down almost to the floor, and when the dogs go nuts, if the blinds are down, they've like just tore the tar out of them. So, um, I
That's not good.
yeah. So, and J.S. Gilbert, I apologize. He said he didn't realize that we were on a new day and time. That is just a special day and time today for Ian.
It's
Um,
my fault. Blame me. Blame
he's
me.
in high demand. So, all right. So, Ian, we want to give you a chance, obviously, because we appreciate you being here to plug yourself and tell everybody where to find you, what you do. Now, you were on a show I used to host, where we had an elevator and we let you go in the elevator and do your 60-second pitch. and people have been asking me about it because they remembered it. Where's the elevator? Well, you know what? This is Wave.video, and so we're all about the water. And so what we've come up with for you is a submarine. And so we're going to put you in the submarine, and when it starts to submerge, that's your time to start.
Oh, okay.
And when it finally comes back to the surface, that's when your time is up. So let's bring up the submarine. I will be here in case of an emergency in my handy dandy diving gear. But any moment now, we will start to go under the water, and it's your chance to just tell the world whatever it is you want to tell the world. So are you ready?
I'm ready. I was born ready.
Here we go.
Well, okay. Well, thank you, Chad. It's been fabulous being on the show. And you can, if you want to find out more about me, you can go to iag.me. I help entrepreneurs level up their impact, authority, and profits through the power of confident live video. So if you're wanting to get better with the tech, get more confident in front of the camera, or boost your content and marketing, then you can find out more there. And I've got lots of courses. I've also got the podcast as well, the Confident Live Marketing Podcast at iag.me/podcast. Which would be great if you could go and hang out there as well. But I think that's probably all I've got to say. And as I come up to the surface, I can breathe some beautiful oxygen and smell that sea breeze.
Well done. I hope you had a good time in the submarine.
It was fun. I didn't feel too claustrophobic. It was okay.
Well, we had to come up with something fun. All righty. We're going to give away some stuff real quick. Here we go.
You had to do it again.
I didn't know they were going to put it in both segments. That's so.
I want to know. I want to know who made that decision.
So my sources are confidential. Anyway, hey guys, it's time to give out some prizes. Obviously, we've got our regular sticker pack, the Wave.video sticker pack, which has the coveted yellow Chad, #yellow Chad. And when you get your stickers, take a little shot, a picture, send it to us, post it, let us know where you stuck yellow Chad. It's always interesting, and I'm always nervous. Somebody told me that they're now on their water bottles for their kids that they take to school every day. So my sincere apologies to those people's children. Also, second place today is going to get one of our brand new mugs with Yellow Chad Live Better and the beautiful Wave.video logo. And the grand prize, the Confident Live Streamer t-shirt from Ian's own swag. Super cool. I know I want one, so I need to get me one of those as well. All right, so third place, our stickers go today to Katie Simpson. Thanks for being here with us. Our mug is going to, and I know he's going to be exceptionally excited, is Eric Bach. Yeah, I know he's going to love it. And the big prize, the Ian t-shirt. I wish it had a picture of Ian on it, but it does say Confident Live Streamer, goes to Stuart Buchan. I hope I said your last name right. I've been connected with Stuart for a long time, but it's one of those, like, we're connected online, but we've never like said our names to each other out loud. So and so I get it because people get mine wrong all the time. So congratulations. Make sure that you send an email or contact Yulia at Wave.video. There it is up on the screen, and get her your information. We'll get those things over to you. Ian, thank you so much for hanging out and being here. It's always a pleasure. I know I've been on your show a couple of times as well. Just good stuff. Guys, make sure that you check out Ian's show. He shares all kinds of really cool tips, tricks. He dives into gear and how to, very detailed, very thorough, and for the most part, he has incredible guests on his show. He's had a couple, lapses in judgment, but we're super grateful. So thank you for being here with us, Ian.
Oh, thank you, Chad, and thank you everyone who's been here today. It's been great to hang out with you all.
All right. And make sure that you join us next week. We'll be here at our regular time, which is Wednesdays at noon Eastern. Next week, we've got Luria Petrucci coming in. So live streaming pros, and she's going to be sharing some ways that she uses live streaming to grow her bottom line. So you won't want to miss that. I know I'll be here, and look forward to learning together how to live better.